All right, I think I'm live. I'm alive. Everything looks good. All right, how's everyone doing today? I got a new webcam. It's interesting. Got a ring light. I'm trying to be all fancy and professional. A new background. This is what I've been doing. It's not all I've been doing. I have been very quiet on social media, and I've been very quiet on even my blog, my every place you can think of, because it's just been that the nature of the time that we're in. So I made commitments to myself, though, that I will always do the full and new moon videos no matter what's going on. So here I am doing it. And I do want to talk about the full moon in Aries today, and I hope that you guys are making it through the tough, tense, sometimes shocking events that are going on, the depression, the feeling like things are never going to be normal again. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to, at least not about my life. That being said, I will extend some wishes for prayers, energy, love, whatever you want to give to some family members of mine. We've lost someone close to us, and it's a difficult situation in many, many ways. And so I'm actually going to be flying out of town tomorrow to deal with that and to give all the love that I can. And so, you know, it's a time. And that includes with my own family, and this is the nature of it. And so this is what I want to say. The full moon in Aries is tomorrow at 4:09 p.m. And when we speak of an astrological sign, we're speaking of a flavor. Let's say flavor, okay? And Aries is the flavor of motivation. You could say determination, especially with the aspects we have going on now. Conflagration, fiery, passionate, the god of war, aggravation. Mars can rule a lot of these things. Mars rules the head, so it rules head injuries. I mean, in reality, I'm looking at the fact that Mars is retrograde, which, by the way, it looks brighter and red in the sky right now if you go look at it. But I'm looking at that, and I'm correlating it to reality, and you see the fires out west, and I've even heard of a lot of different shocking events recently to do with the body. Mars rules the body. And so not only do we have a full moon in Aries, but Mars retrograde is there as well, which I've been talking about. Mars rules Aries. So these associations, when they double up, Mars and another planet, Mars being the god of war, Mars being motivation and will and action, if it's in, let's just take the sign of Taurus, for instance, we're going to get more steady action. We're going to get slower action. Maybe even more stubbornness, right? In terms of our will. In Aries, it's not like that. It wants to move. It wants to go forward. It wants to act. It wants to run into battle and just move, move, move. Okay, that's Mars in Aries. And so that's why I've been saying conflagration. That's like my word for Mars retrograde in Aries, right? Then we are going to label the moon in Aries as feeling that way. So we're having a full moon in Aries along with a Mars retrograde in Aries, and so our feelings are conflagrated. They're inflamed. They're passionate feelings, right? So you start to layer these things on top of each other, and it makes for a very volatile situation sometimes. When you get high emotions, high passions, and you're not getting what you want on top of that, then those things are going to affect each other, right? And the reason I say we're not getting what we want on top of that is because of something known as a square to Saturn. And these are all archetypes that I'm speaking of here, right? So there's many archetypes. At Benjamin, the degree of the full moon is 9 degrees of Aries. But these archetypes, you know, they're archetypes throughout our reality. You have archetypes in tarot. You have archetypes in pick your religion, right? Archetypes are stories, and we hold these stories inside of us. So the archetype of Mars square Saturn is the taskmaster, the authority, the rules. And it's saying, not so fast. We have to take care of the rules. We have to take care of reality. We have to pay attention to the authorities and what they're telling us we can and cannot do, right? So you can't move forward yet. Mars retrograde in Aries is like, but I want to move forward. What are you talking about? Rules? No. Okay. So you can look at this as good and bad. This has the possibility to be both. You know, these things can manifest in super different ways. So, you know, you're either not getting what you want, or you're harnessing this. You're harnessing this. Okay, maybe if I check out this desire that I have to move forward in this situation, let me check it out and see if there's a better way, or a way that can be mastered. Okay, so mastery is a word for this. And it's interesting because the full moon is at 9 degrees. It's near Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, so there's some healing involved here. And then, of course, Mars retrograde at 24 degrees, way far away. The fact that they're in the same sign, I'm going to go ahead and call this, you know, a Mars activation here, because of the nature of Mars moving backwards, right? So the moon will very quickly hit Mars after this full moon. It won't be a long transit, right? So we've got this whole square going on that's saying, no, 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 you can't move forward, or no, 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 that's not the rules. Or, and it's interesting, it was exactly square during the debate last night. Oh, how funny is that, huh? Not only was it exactly square to Saturn last night, but Saturn turned direct. So you have this thing in astrology, in astronomy, this is real life, it's called a stationing direct, and it looks in the sky like it slows down and then stays in one spot, and then it begins moving forward again. So Saturn has been retrograde for a few months, and yesterday, as it squared Mars, it paused and it decided to move forward, right? So we've got these high emotions during the debate, and then Saturn saying, but that's not the rules, right? That was actually happening in real life in front of our faces, the literal manifestation of it. So you can really kind of take that, though, and apply it to your own life, and you're probably dealing with something similar, right? So that's the Saturn part of it, but we have a couple of other things involved. Jupiter is also direct now. Jupiter is truth and expansion, and I'm going to use truth a lot for this specific, and belief for this specific talk, because we have undergone a transformation of our whole belief systems, you know, and what we believe the rules are. So you layer and layer and layer and layer, right? And then you add the other planet there in Capricorn, Pluto. Pluto is transformation. Our beliefs, our literal reality has undergone a complete, I mean, I think wrecking ball transformation. This has not been easy. So now Mars, this is retrograde in Aries, and it's like, but I want to move forward. Let's get out of this, okay? Like, let's move forward. Let's just do, what do we need to do? We need to go to war. Do I need to beat up somebody? Do I need to yell at somebody? This is what Mars retrograde in Aries is kind of bugging us to do. It's like tap, 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 but I want to move forward. And, you know, we've got all these rules, authorities. We can't do that in the way we want. On top of that, our whole belief system has been under a major transformation, and we may not even believe where we're headed. You know, it's like, but that's not right. I don't want to be going that way. That's not the way I was going last year. What do you mean I don't have this career anymore? And I need to move forward here in this way, right? So we've had a lot of stuff taken away. Kind of like the rug pulled out from under your feet is the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and Capricorn. And it very much deals with actual reality, like government systems, banking systems, your bones, the wood that your house is made of. And I've been using that as a metaphor ever since I've watched this coming, you know, redoing your house, rebuilding your house, right? So during the Saturn retrograde and the Jupiter retrograde, and Pluto is still retrograde, but it'll go direct. I need to look at my notebook and see if it'll go direct. I have it written down, but that retrograde was a checking it out. It's like, okay, the rules have changed. The house is, we're redoing the house. We're rebuilding the deck, let's just say. So the retrograde's like, oh my God, why did I paint it this color? So we may have had some realizations over the last few months that the way we were doing things, the way we were building things, and the way that our government is doing things, and the way that the rules are not working for us. We want to change it, and it needs to be changed, right? This is also collective. This is in our own lives and collective. And now that brings us to this lovely, lovely time of October. Lovely. Lovely. It's okay. It's going to be okay. It's very difficult to do sessions with clients when they're looking at you for hope and this tough energy is coming up. So I'm not going to lie. This energy is tough. It's going to be weird over this month. So what I want you to do during this full moon is pay attention. Pay attention to the feelings that are brought up, to the passions that are brought up, and the desires, the motivation, where you are really wanting to move forward. But it just seems like so much is happening in the outside world that you're not able to, okay? Pay attention to this. There's some healing here. There's something to be discovered here. And it could be discovered through situations that are difficult. It could be discovered through not getting what you want. But there is some healing to be had. Now, the fact that the moon is full on this day means automatically that the sun is in the opposite place of the moon. So the moon's in Aries, the sun is in Libra. Now, Libra is about balance, right? So the light that is reflecting off of this moon is about balance and peace and love. And so this is an invitation to bring that into yourself, into your own identity, into what balance do you need in your life? What balance do you need in your relationships, in the outside world? How can we be adjusting right now? I think that's very important during this full moon. So I will also say that realizations are probably going to be a big part of this full moon. There's no way you get so much Aries Mars energy and you don't have realizations about something you truly, truly, deeply want. Now, let me give you a little personal story of how this can affect you in real life, okay? This Mars in Aries, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn, these are known as cardinal signs. I think I went over this on the last video, but I'm going to keep going over this because the cardinal signs are what is activated in the most major way right now. And they will continue to be. And the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. And they all have to do with movement and action and acting out, outward movement, right? So Aries is the outward fire, like a flamethrower. Cancer is cardinal water, so a flowing river, right? Maybe even a waterfall. Libra is cardinal air, a wind blowing, it moves. And then Capricorn is cardinal earth, and I think of a mountain. You know, you have an earthquake and this mountain gets the two tectonic plates and boom, that's cardinal earth, right? So these things are being activated in in astrology and then in our own charts. And so I encourage you to find where this cardinal grand cross is in your chart, where Aries is, where Cancer is. Everyone's got these signs in somewhere in your chart. You may not have a planet there, you may not have a luminary there, but you will have the sign somewhere in your chart. Aries for me is on my 10th house. That's career. That's where I'm really trying to move forward in. You know, I've been taking some classes. I've been starting the certification process. I'm revamping my website. I'm just, you know, like getting new backgrounds, really working on writing what I can do with my career, right? That's been my focus since Mars has been in Aries since July. I think it's been July, maybe even was June when it moved in. That's been my focus. Now, the things that are pulling me away from that, relationships, home, family, and then my identity. Now, I'm a Cancer rising. My identity, that's not been so much of a thing, except that I'm forced to be in that Cancerian identity right now, the caretaker, the mother. And then the Libra for me is in my 4th house of home. So I've had a lot of stuff going on with my kids and school. I've had a lot of stuff go on in my relationship and by proxy, my partner's family. And that's actually part of why I'm having to fly out. The person we lost is through my partner's family. So a lot of home adjustments, a lot of working with my small children to do good in school, and I'm doing virtual school, and really having to be in that Cancerian rising sign, right? My career, I haven't had any time for it. I haven't had time to post on Instagram. I haven't had time to write. I haven't had time to, I didn't even think about this video. I tell you this personal story so that you can kind of see where I'm going with it. The Mars, the full moon is where you want to be going. And yes, is it important to you? Are you passionate about it? Why am I being held back? I'm going to say any place that you feel like you can't move forward or you can't make any headway, especially in this Mars area, let go a little bit. Hold on loosely. It's coming. You'll be able to move forward there, but pay attention to the things that come in while you're not able to move forward. Why are you learning these lessons in these other places? You need to have this strong foundation wherever Capricorn is in order to move forward in the place where Mars is. And you need to be nurturing the place where Cancer is. For me, myself, I need to be nurturing myself. And you need to be finding balance in the place that Libra is. And that's where this cardinal grand cross is. Low power mode on my phone. Oh, well, I'm doing the best I can. Phone. That's where this cardinal grand cross is very important in your own chart. And so, yeah, the full moon tomorrow is going to really highlight the Aries place. And so you may feel frustrated, like, if I didn't have all this other stuff going on, I would be able to do this, right? But let that emotional awareness come to the surface and intellectually consider it. Do everything you can to plan, to write down your ideas, to do all of the things that are around the actual doing. You know, so like I want to be doing the career thing. I want to be, you know, going forward with it. But since the doing is not happening like I want it to, I need to be paying attention to my relationship and to my home and to be doing here so that when I'm ready, when the energy gets better, I have planned, I have worked on it. I have used this time productively instead of forcing it through, instead of saying, I'm not going to pay attention to my kids' schooling right now. I have work to do. And I'm not going to pay attention to my relationship. I have work to do. Nope, that's not going to work. Now, sometimes in these situations, because it's such a difficult energy, it can be depressing. And that's a lot of what we're dealing with as well. Depression. Neptune's in Pisces. Right now it is coming into a sextile with Jupiter. So in that way, absolutely give yourself spiritual room right now. Meditation, journaling, your structure will come through a spiritual practice. I promise you that. So the tools are important right now. Your toolkit is very, very important. I think that's a part of the eclipse season, Gemini and Sagittarius, doing away with old belief systems, like maybe I believe I can't conquer this feeling, depression, whatever it is, right? We all have something that we believe maybe that we can't do. So invite in new information that helps you tweak that, right? We can't just believe certain things anymore that aren't supportive of a future that we are trying to manifest. And we all are trying to manifest a future. You might balk at the word manifest or whatever. Yeah, it's a woo-woo word, manifest. But it is also a real thing. If I put a seed in the ground, I'm going to manifest a plant, hopefully, and that's the idea. These are the seeds, right? So that's where these eclipses are helping us along, because it's like, if I can do away with the belief that I'm not good enough, or I don't know enough, or I believe that because I've always, been an alcoholic, that I'll never not be an alcoholic. These are the things that with that Jupiter sextile Neptune is going to open up for us. So that's some silver lining, I think, is a spiritual awareness, a new belief system that we can open up to. But the downside of the eclipses being in Gemini, Sagittarius, is that it's an influx of information, and information that rocks our world. That's not comfortable to be told. It's something that you've believed. Maybe you've always believed the government was here for you. Information comes in and we find out that's not the case, right? So it's a very full astrology chart right now. There's one more thing I do want to talk about with this full moon, and that is with its conjunction to Chiron. It's a 2-degree orb. It's not very far. We're really being challenged to let go of our, how can I phrase this? Our dirty blanket, okay? Sometimes we hold on to wounds because or we hold on to a sadness, or we hold on to something that's not serving our higher good because it's comfortable. And it's almost like we wallow in it, right? You can wallow in the fact that you're not getting what you want. You can wallow in the fact that you don't believe in yourself and just stay there. That's an absolute thing that you can decide to do. So with the full moon being something of awareness and letting go and culmination, really take a look at a place you may be holding on to that you don't need to, right? So holding on to a sadness that absolutely you should work through grief. Absolutely you should acknowledge sad feelings, but staying in it because that dirty blanket's comfortable to have because you've always been sad about this, or you've always been depressed about this, that's something that this full moon is supporting you letting go of. And I'm not one who thinks that you can just decide to not be depressed. That is not what I'm saying. But we have an opportunity here to let go of it if we work with it, if we use our tools to work with it, right? And the future is at stake. Our collective future is at stake. Let me bring up this Carl Jung quote that I really want to show you. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Carl Jung. He said, a change in the attitude of the individual can bring about a renewal in the spirit of the nations. And at this point in time, that seems so powerful. We are all responsible for our own healing. And if we can do the very, very, it's not a small act, but the very singular act of healing ourselves and finding our own path, it serves the greater good. And that's what this full moon is about, okay? the relationship to yourself. Who are you? What is your identity? Who do you want to be in the new world that we're definitely having to deal with? It's a new world. It's not the same anymore. So, and it could be a shockingly new world for you. It could be, you know, I think of people that are losing loved ones. So we have to accept the reality, see the reality, and decide how to go forward with it. Oh, there's another thing, and that's the full moon, right? But we've also got a couple of other planets that I need to talk about, specifically the Mercury retrograde coming up. Mercury retrograde. It's in Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is all about deep desires. These are the ones that we push down into the darkness. Scorpio is a shadow sign, but it deals with power, power plays, whether you have power or give it away. So powerlessness. It typically rules sex and death and transformation. So this is the Scorpio is the compost pile of the zodiac, right? I should know I am a Scorpio. So it's very intense when you have anything in Scorpio. First of all, you're having intense situations, and I'm sure everyone's like, "Are you kidding me? More intensity?" Yeah, more intensity. Now, Mercury is the way we think and where our minds are situated, right? So this could be extreme thoughts, right? And I will definitely say during this time, because I do think depression is increasing and getting worse during what we call lockdown, quarantine, what we call systemic racism and oppression, what we call the election of our next president. None of this feels good. Not to me. I have not felt, I've felt super, super dark. And, you know, as someone who's been through the darkness before, I pride myself on being able to get up and fight and just go at it and just, we're going to keep moving and we're going to do this. I pride myself on that. I pride myself on the amount of tools that I've gathered and the way I've learned to look at situations and to change my perspective. Ecstatic astrology, ecstasy means to stand outside oneself. And I pride myself on that. And yet, during these last few weeks, it's been impossible to take myself out of the trenches. I have been under so much mud for one reason or another, and I could say 5 or 6 right now, personal situations that it's all coming down, right? And I know that if me, a person who is privileged, a person who has so much at her fingertips can deal with this, I can't imagine how it must be for people who aren't as privileged as me. So with this Mercury in Scorpio, what we're moving into could be a darker time even. And I don't mean that to scare anyone. I mean that to say we have to actively support one another and actively work on it, okay? Mercury is the way we think. Scorpio is transformation. So the higher way of looking at this Mercury retrograde coming up in Scorpio is to revisit places that maybe we've given our power away, revisit situations in maybe which we've been abused and situations where we've been the abuser. And to really bring it up, Scorpio will bring truth to the surface, and a Mercury retrograde here will bring truth to the surface, okay? Now, it goes, let me see about when it goes retrograde. I believe it's October 14th. So we're dealing with 2 more weeks, right? But it's still in shadow already. It is already moving over the place where it's going to retrograde back over. So we're already dealing with these things are already going to start coming up, okay? October 14th, it goes, I'm just double checking my timing here. Yeah, Wednesday, October 14th, at the 11th degree of Scorpio. And I'll tell you the exact time of day in Birmingham because I think that's important to know. Nope. Oh, it's going to be maybe the 13th at the wee hours of the morning. No, I'm wrong. It's October 13th at the night time. Looks like around 8 p.m. October 13th, Tuesday, October 13th. So that's when Mercury turns its stations. Remember, I talked about the stationing of Saturn, stations retrograde. So, you know, there's some interesting things happening around that time. We're moving into new moon territory. It's going to be a dark moon. And it's going to be stationing retrograde opposite Uranus. Uranus is upheaval. It is revolution. It can be shocking events. Uranus is in Taurus, exactly where it was when the Great Depression happened. So we're also talking about values, money, and relationships when we're talking about Taurus and the things that make us comfortable, okay? This is a potentially uncomfortable time. I will say with the Uranus opposition that Uranus being upheaval and shocking events, well, shocking events can be good. I mean, you can win the lottery. That's a shocking event, right? Like maybe you don't realize you're going to win the lottery. So I don't want to, like, I am a big believer in creating the future and not necessarily predicting it. I don't think it can be predicted because of this, because of Uranus. If Uranus literally represents shocking events or upheaval or revolution, its nature is that it's unpredictable, right? So I'm not going to say this is going to be terrible or it's going to be great, right? I'm going to say watch out for things from left field, truths that surface. That could be a big deal right now. And I also want to say maybe we should be during this Mercury retrograde revisiting some places that we haven't been in our power or that we've given away too much, or maybe we're also going to consider how our value system has changed, and maybe we're able to revisit this area of life, which is about sharing resources, Scorpio, about power, and seeing maybe we can give up some or allow someone in or open the door, you know. But this is diving deep this October. This October is a deep diving October. I've heard a few people call it Shocktober, or I think Chris Brennan and Kelly Surtees and Austin Coppock said the October surprise is what they called it. Yes, there are many situations that we can say this is going to be a surprising October, okay? Now, here's one more thing I want to talk about. I just talked about October 13th, Mercury is going to go retrograde, right? But today, it's not retrograde yet. It's just in shadow. But it's moving, and I'm going to say let me give you this date. It'll be opposed to Uranus on October 6th, okay? So that's in, what, a week? The first time. It'll move forward, then it'll oppose it a second time, and then again. So we're having Mercury opposite Uranus 3 times, 3 passes. If that's not telling you something, right? Something's coming up here in terms of our values, in terms of how we can revolutionize the earth, be innovative in our food production, be innovative in, you know, what we consider valuable. I think of things like Bitcoin. I think of things like Beyond Burger, you know, or whatever. We can say all of these things in terms of Uranus in Taurus. In that way, prepare for something that could go wrong. You might want to prepare for that. So, you know, what did we have when we had the wave of COVID? We had a run on the grocery stores, right? Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to stock up on some toilet paper. This is not fear. This is preparation. This is keeping our eyes open. Things are wobbly right now, okay? And that's just concerning the Mercury retrograde Uranus opposition. There are some other things happening, and this is where I move forward from the full moon so that we can kind of talk about what's going on after that. That's important. So we're here, the full moon is tomorrow, and I'm looking at the chart just to see what I can touch on. The sun is in Libra, and remember I told you anything in these cardinal signs, these cardinal Grand Cross signs, are going to activate it, right? They're going to activate the T-square, the tense situations. With the sun being in Libra, that means it's actually going to oppose Mars retrograde at one point. It's also going to square Jupiter, square Pluto, square Saturn at some point. So we're watching for that, right? Let me look here. As we move forward, I will say the full moon happens tomorrow. Moon hits Mars on Friday. And, you know, when you're talking about that, I think we're still in that full moon in Aries energy. People get angry. People get upset. People will yell. People will have physical things happen to them. People will also get motivated and decide they're not going to take it anymore, right? Mars is applying to that square with Pluto, which is endings, right? So it's letting go of that square to Saturn, although it's still there, but it's applying to that square with Pluto retrograde. So that's going to be the awareness that something has to end in order to move forward. And that might be a rule that we've had for ourselves. It might be a boundary issue. And that's Friday, so expect for that full moon energy to hold its own for the next couple of days, okay? And then, also on Friday, Venus moves into Virgo. What's special about Venus and Virgo, it's been in Leo, and that's actually been, I think, probably the nicest piece of the transit lately, of any transits. Venus and Leo, that was great. Yay. Venus is what we love, and what we value, and in Leo, that was our inner child, our creativity, our heart, children, right? Well, now we're moving into Virgo. Virgo is focused energy, and so that's something that we need to be aware of, because we could get very caught up in the details, especially in terms of relationships and money, right? This Virgo can make things seem overwhelming, right? Venus is good, though. Venus is a benefic. Venus is nice energy. But what's so special about it being in Virgo otherwise? Well, it's going to trine Jupiter in Capricorn, trine Pluto in Capricorn, and trine Saturn in Capricorn. Not immediately, but it will. Oh, and trine Uranus and Taurus. So we're going to have a grand Earth trine. I would just watch for, I do say Virgo is health. So Venus and Virgo, maybe there will be some health discovery coming up that we can count on, or maybe some awareness. And then also maybe the details get brought out in a way that really helps us with Venus and Virgo. As we move on, the moon hits Uranus. So yeah, I'd look at Saturday is going to be that grand Earth trine, not technically the grand Earth trine, but the moon will trine Venus. Look for opportunities this weekend, and pay attention to your money around this time with Uranus and Taurus. Now is not a good time to be spending a bunch of money if you can help it. Some people don't even have the money to spend. If you're going to do anything with your money, I wouldn't be buying new clothes right now unless you absolutely need them. Take what you would spend on something that maybe has taken a back seat and donate it. This is a time for charity. Venus and Virgo is about service to the community. So you will be paid back in dividends for that. If you see someone who needs help, reach out. If you need help, ask for it. This is the time to do that. Venus and Virgo is going to be very good for that. So then Sunday, the moon's in Taurus. Anytime anything hits, I'll tell you this, anytime anything is in an earth sign, it's going to be configuring to the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction. And then anytime anything is in a cardinal sign, it's going to be squaring to it, okay? So be watching that. You don't have to know a bunch of astrology to know to follow where the moon is, okay? Super important. It also helps you get a routine going. You can get a routine by the moon, by the stars. That is okay. Even if you don't believe in astrology, you can still develop a routine by it because it's helpful. Okay. So what else is shifting? Oh, Pluto goes direct. That's that date that I was looking for on Sunday. Now, Pluto is power and transformation. It's been retrograde. There are two schools of thought. It could be a pause when we're dealing with a retrograde. It could also be a redo, visit, whatever. But when it's direct, it's acting in a much more characteristic way of itself. So Pluto being transformation and power, it's moving direct, Jupiter's moving direct, and Saturn's moving direct. What I'm eyeing is the fact that they're going to be nearing the same degrees that they were on March 12th when the stock market took a hit. I think astrologically we're probably going to get another stimulus check, and you don't have to know astrology to have that idea. So Sunday, Pluto goes direct, and we may see more power plays even, and more transformation of the structures around us. Jupiter sextiles Neptune that day at 18 degrees. And this is an opportunity to let Spirit lead us forward in the rules that we're in our reorganization of society, okay? Take the opportunity to think deeply, learn something because you want to change your mind, right? Like seek during this time. That's a good way to say it. So I'm looking just to see what's going on here. Okay, yeah. So October 9th, we're moving into where, no, is it the 9th? No, it's the 8th. Mars squares Pluto. And that's what I was saying. There's going to be an ending of something, or a taking back of power, during this time. Pluto is also truth. It would not surprise me if some major truth came out during that time. And it will be square to Pluto for at least a couple of days. It can be a volatile period when Mars squares Pluto, but passion for a project, that could be intense and satisfying, right? But you're being challenged to come to terms with what desires you have and how to follow through in a positive manner. Also the desire to get the upper hand could be a strong thing with that situation. And then we move into October 10th, Saturday. Let me say something else about October 9th and next weekend. The moon's in Cancer. Cardinal sign. This is a grand T-square. The 8th, 9th, and 10th, you can expect to have this very tense stuff go on. So look at next weekend as more intense situations. Gosh, Saturday, Venus is trine Uranus. That's upheaval. It's going to be very possible to change our reality next weekend. If we're looking to do it actively. Take part in it. That's going to be the most important thing. You don't want to let the change happen to you. If you can dig deep, use that Mars and Aries square Pluto and figure out what is it that needs to be transformed about myself, about my reality. The cardinal signs are about reality. then that Venus trine Uranus says, okay, here's how to do it. Here's how we can take advantage of that. But yeah, specifically when the moon is at, I'm going to say specifically Friday the 9th, being that crazy T-square energy, Thor's hammer. This is also not a time to take risks. I would not recommend taking risks right now. Not, just not like maybe not going skydiving or something like that. Just probably not a good time to do that. Let's see here. I'm just following along to see what planets are changing, what I might want to look at. I think the next big thing is the 13th. We've got Mercury stationing retrograde. It looks like our best chance for maybe some peace, if you will be I would say Sunday through Wednesday, Thursday is going to maybe be the most uneventful. If there is an uneventful time right now, that might be the most uneventful time. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, relish that time, because beyond that, things just ramp up. You got the moon completing that T-square, Venus trine Uranus, and then we're leading into the new moon. And Jupiter also goes to 19 degrees. So Jupiter is beginning to move a little faster. The last thing I want to do is talk about one funny thing is Mercury does station direct on the election. The last time that had happened was 2000, during the Hanging Chad situation. So yeah, let's just think about that. Mercury retrograde stationing direct on the day of the election. Interesting. And it will be in Libra, I believe, which Libra's a cardinal sign. So we're talking about, is that going to be square? Let's see. I want to look at it. I want to see. I think it's going to be square Saturn or Pluto. 26 degrees. Yeah. It stations direct on the election. It is retrograde up through November 2nd. November 3rd, it turns direct, square Saturn again. So, I'll do a whole thing on the election. I don't think I can say much. It's just buckle up, right? Take care of the real stuff in your life. Make sure you are taking care of things that, you consider survival. So your home, make sure your home it's a good time to purge, get your space comfortable for whatever this winter brings. Might be a good idea to stock up on some dried beans and rice. I'm not saying anything bad will happen, but it's never bad to be prepared during times like these. And what else can I say? I mean, that goes through the next little bit, right? But let me go ahead and say to Mars, where Mars through the signs. I'm going to do that.